we used to be self-sufficient. Even better than that, we actually created huge exports, overseas earnings by being a net exporter of oil and gas until the Tories took charge. And then it went the other way. And I'm delighted now to be joined by the director of Net Zero Watch, Dr. Benny Peiser, to talk about the direction of energy prices and energy supply and what we should be doing about it here in the new year. Because, of course, we know that energy prices have soared in recent weeks and months, and millions of people up and down the country are receiving horrendous envelopes from their energy suppliers with forecasts of huge increases to their energy bills. Benny, a very good morning to you. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us. Great to see you.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
So, Benny, you've just heard my sort of intro there. What are your concerns about the direction of energy prices, given the constraints this government has put on our whole sort of energy system in recent years? What do you think is the forecast in the next 3 months and 12 months?
Well, we essentially live in a Kafkaesque situation in that Britain is sitting on one of the biggest natural gas resources in the world, but the government essentially is banning tapping this gold mine, while energy prices are going through the roof. This is just the beginning of a very, very bad dream. Energy prices will rocket as of April, as the energy price cap will be increased. Millions of families who are already struggling to keep their homes warm will not know how to pay these energy bills with near doubling. So, this is a self-inflicted wound. It's entirely a political fiasco. There was no need for this to happen. In the US, natural gas prices are a tenth of what they are here, simply because they do allow the extraction of shale gas. Boris has banned it essentially. And of course, once you put, the energy system under political pressure, this is what happens.
Essentially, at the moment, we're at the mercy of the world markets, which is being significantly affected by what Putin's doing, restricting supply, and also, of course, the increased demand from China. So we're being pulled and pushed around by external forces, as opposed to that self-reliance. I think that the whole shale gas debate is one that we need to rehave as a nation. Interestingly, Benny, when I was campaigning in Bexley and North Shropshire, I was really struck on knocking on thousands of doors how patriotic people are in terms of buying British energy. And people were very happy to buy our own shale gas, and they didn't want to be buying Putin's gas or Macron's electricity. Is that your sense? And why do you think the Tories, in a sense, went away from their 2017 manifesto commitment to develop a shale gas industry, and they then bottled it and completely cancelled it?
Well, first of all, I think people always priority cheap and affordable forms of energy, whatever energy. They would always, if you ask them, go for cheaper forms of energy rather than more expensive forms of energy, because everything will make life more difficult. It's not just that their heating bills and their utility bills go up, but businesses who are struggling with high energy prices simply pass them on to their consumers. So inflation goes up as a direct result. In terms of the energy prices, there is not really a global problem. This is entirely regional here in Europe, because, as I said, in the US, there is plenty of gas. It's very, very cheap, although President Biden is trying to make it more expensive, again, for political reasons. It's entirely self-inflicted. Europe has huge gas reserves left, But the EU is so obsessed with its green, or has been, and we might come back to that because they're beginning to reconsider. The EU is beginning to change track, and I don't know whether you're aware of it, but on 5 minutes before midnight on the 31st of December, the European Commission actually published their new energy policy draft, suggesting that natural gas and nuclear energy should be considered green energy.
I did see that, Benny, and there's nothing that irritates me more than thinking that the EU may be moving at a faster pace, a more responsive pace to events than the UK as a sovereign nation. I did see that, and we've got a situation here, haven't we, where not only have the Tory government rejected shale gas, but just recently in 2021 they've turned down licenses to develop the oil field at Cambo and the gas field at Jackdaw, haven't they?
Yes, indeed. I mean, it's obviously that was virtue signaling in the run-up to COP26, but Boris is reaping, what he saw. I mean, the price crisis and the cost of living crisis is entirely politically self-inflicted. It was totally unnecessary, at least when it comes to energy prices. And unless the government reconsiders fast, I'm afraid they will pay the political price, because voters will not be willing to accept these astronomical costs and this pain and the burden, and they will punish the government for hurting them.
But the truth is that the Labour Party policy is as bad or worse. Essentially,
Absolutely. And you know what? At the last by-election, the Conservative voters even voted for Liberal Democrats just to punish them. So they don't really care whether the Lib Dems or Labour have better policies. For the time being, that's how punishment goes. They will just try to get someone else voted in. That might change. There might be, you're leading a party. There are other small parties. I just hope that there will be enough pressure on the government, just as there was on the, Brexit issue,
we will
they actually change track and change fast.
We will certainly be putting pressure on the government. Do you think there's any prospect that, given this crisis, that the government might do some short-term measures, such as, for example, remove in a sense, the renewable energy levies, the social environmental levies that make up about 25% of people's electricity bills, and possibly remove the 5% VAT on fuel bills, just to provide some short-term relief?
Well, that's what the group of Conservative MPs who published this letter in the Sunday Telegraph today are demanding. It would bring down the cost slightly, a few £100. It would still mean, very high energy prices as of April. So there are some short-term measures the government can take, and it won't solve the overall problem. There are medium-term measures the government should take. The government, as I said, should adopt the same taxonomy as the EU, declaring natural gas and nuclear as not only green forms of energy, but an issue of national security, because we are facing an energy crisis. And whether the government is able to turn it around, I don't know. I mean, I have very little real confidence in the ability, intellectual and technological
and I guess
competence of the government. So I'm not sure whether they can pull it around.
I guess the other concern is that if there's a real cold snap, we've been blessed by a pretty mild recent few weeks. If there's a real cold snap in January and February, then that could actually also increase the demand for gas and therefore increase the prices.
Yeah, well, the prices are already very high. This is not a short-term issue. This is a long-term issue. The problem is that the government is prioritizing the net zero agenda over all other issues. Everything is being totally overshadowed by net zero. So whether it's health, whether it's energy, whether it's national security, whether it's the economy, everything is looked at through the net zero angle. And that makes it so difficult for the government to actually change track. We have to realize there are more important issues for the UK and its security and its economic stability and its social stability. Then net zero is a risk to national security and national stability.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think they could be being very naive, thinking that this is just a temporary price hike. It could well be the beginning of a much higher levels of prices. I mean, wholesale gas prices are some 4 to 5 times higher than they were just 6 or 7 months ago. Benny, thank you so much